talking about today?
We're talking about seller subsidies.
Okay.
We're talking about seller subsidies. So a seller subsidy is more or less like a seller contribution to your closing costs. You can use it as a negotiation tool at the beginning of the transaction or in the middle of the transaction if something happens. But seller subsidy is a topic I want to discuss or talk to you all about today, because when I was crunching the numbers for Kingstown today, I noticed a trend in the Kingstown numbers. That information or that discovery in the Kingstown section made me want to go check out the information for Fairfax County.
Okay.
And in Fairfax County, 22% of the transactions that occurred in October 2021 had a seller subsidy.
I am shocked by that. I really am.
Yes.
Well, I'm shocked, and then I'm also not shocked, right? Because we have not really seen seller subsidies all year. Like for the most part, this entire year, we just have not seen them. It's been such a crazy market with buyers waiving all types of contingencies and, homes selling for so much over asking price. And one thing we've been talking about over the last few weeks is we've noticed a trend of days on market increasing and price reductions, right?
Right.
And so now you're telling me we're also seeing seller subsidies return.
That's true. Now, for the individuals who maybe haven't purchased a property yet, the seller subsidy conversation may still be confusing, right? And so what a seller subsidy is, let's talk about how it benefits you as a buyer. So let's assume you're a buyer buying into this market and you're using our services, and we tell you, 20% of the homes, 1 out of every 5 homes is selling with a seller subsidy. So we should position ourselves to make an offer with the seller subsidy. Now, a seller subsidy actually reduces the amount of money the seller makes, but the advantage to you is that you, the buyer, now has a reduction in your closing costs. At the same time, your loan still stays at the same price. So it's almost like you're dipping into your loan and you are using some of that money up front to purchase the property. That reduces your upfront cost. You have less of not necessarily a down payment, but just your closing cost is how it's going to affect your bottom line. And this is advantageous to you because you have less money to bring to the table, right? So for some of our VA buyers, at the very minimum, I would say that a VA buyer could get into a transaction even with no money down. If you include all of your VA funding fee on the back end, you're probably looking at $6,000 to $8,000 investment, even with zero money down, right? Well, that $6,000 to $8,000 could be covered in a seller subsidy. And in Fairfax County, those 22% of those homes that sold, right? So almost 1 in 5 homes, the average seller subsidy was $7,400.
Oh,
yes.
That's not a little bit.
No, it's not.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is a seller subsidy isn't always, as Abraham was saying, it's a negotiation tool. Sometimes we see a seller subsidy when we have a buyer who needs assistance with closing costs.
Right.
Other times we see it when maybe there's a defect with the property or something on the home inspection where the seller isn't willing, isn't able, maybe there's not enough time or whatever the case may be. And so instead of doing a repair, they offer a credit to the buyer. And then that credit is shown in the MLS as a seller subsidy.
When we're working with our clients, Crystal's so right, when we're working with our clients, if we're in the home inspection period and the repairs are significant, either they're cosmetic repairs or they're just significant in the sense that it's going to take a long time to do.
We may not have time. Like right now at this time of year, we know that it's hard. Contractors can be hard to come by. Especially with the weather changing, you're thinking about there may be issues that need to be addressed outside of the home. And so sometimes in those scenarios, or oftentimes in those scenarios, you recommend seller subsidy.
A seller subsidy, right? Like we have a case, next week where the age of the AC came into consideration for a transaction for one of our clients, right? And instead of the seller installing the AC, because that may have delayed closing, we'll ask for or request a seller subsidy because the AC still works, but you just have a concern about.
Exactly. The home inspection revealed, hey, this is cause for concern, or oftentimes what it'll end up saying is budget for replacement.
Yes.
Which means that it may not break this year. It may not even break in the next 2 years. Just know that it's coming. And when it does come, you'll have that money. And you won't, it's not like you're going to save the $8,000. Hey, this is my HVAC fund. Right. But you didn't bring that $8,000 to the closing table. So in theory, you still have that $8,000 that you initially thought you were going to have to bring to the table.
Exactly. So that's one way the seller subsidy benefits you, and that's during the home inspection period. The other way you would use the seller subsidy to your advantage is actually in the offer process, right? So let's say you have a $600,000 property and your closing costs may be anywhere from $12,000 to $18,000, right? So that's separate from your down payment, right? So you may already have the money, right, which is great, but you may just want to use a seller subsidy to reduce the amount of money you bring to the table, right? And then you could ask the seller for a $5,000 seller subsidy, $10,000 seller subsidy. We see this more and more often with our VA and FHA clients, but FHA, we don't really see that many FHA deals in Northern Virginia in general, just because the prices are so high. So really, we're more or less talking to the individuals who are using conventional financing or VA financing. But in both of those scenarios, you can use a seller subsidy, right, offer to reduce the amount of money you bring to the table for your closing costs. And this is on the front end. So we have on the front end, we have the seller subsidy that's actually included in the contract. And then on the back end, we have the seller subsidy where the home inspection doesn't go the right way or the way we would like it to go, or the radon inspection doesn't go the right way, or the HOA inspection. Like, there's several things that could happen where maybe the seller doesn't have the money, maybe the seller doesn't have the time, maybe the seller is out of the area and so they don't have the bandwidth to make the repairs. So a seller subsidy is a solution to that. And what's positive about seeing seller subsidies, right? I know if you're selling a house, you hate this, but what's positive about seeing a seller subsidy is that we're going to see more buyers who are maybe in an apartment, who are maybe renting, who are not necessarily have all of the money to bring to the table to purchase a property, but can still qualify, right? They still have high credit scores, they still have great jobs, but they just maybe are cash strapped. Seeing these seller subsidies increase in our market is a great sign for those individuals, because it makes homes more affordable in this area, even though this is not that affordable of an area. Yeah. Woo. Have you used a seller subsidy or a closing cost credit? It's different names in different locations. Have you ever used that type of tool in negotiations? How did it go? Let us know in the comments section. If you're selling a house and you're in Northern Virginia, just know that as we go deeper into this market, we're coming out of the pandemic market or coronavirus market, and we're getting into more of a normal market. And because prices were already high for the pandemic, now we're trying to see, like, where are the prices, and that closing cost credit is really a sales price reduction, right? Masked as a higher sales price, right? So if 22% of the properties had a $7,400 closing cost credit, that means that really those prices could have been dropped
$7,000.
Yeah, $7,000, right? Yes, so let us know in the comment section about that information. My name is Abraham Walker. This is Crystal Walker, and we make up the Ask A Walker real estate team. We focus on helping individuals like yourself either moving to the Northern Virginia area, moving around the Northern Virginia area, or selling your property. If you have any questions for us, the best way to get in touch with us is to click the link in the description and fill out the perfect home questionnaire. It's just a few questions that you'll answer, and then we'll schedule a time to meet online via Zoom. If you need immediate assistance, our contact information is going to be right here in the little ticker box, or we'll also put our phone number and email address here. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you on the next video. Peace.